So good evening and welcome to the NADA Community Connection Hour. I am Victoria Taylor. I'm an ADS and a registered trainer from Southwestern Virginia, and I volunteered to coordinate this Community Connection Hour for our organization. Each month we highlight different topics, and I'm glad you chose to join us this evening for our Points to Change watch party. Dr. Anthony Bryant, who's a member of our board of directors, will be supporting the technical aspects of the evening. Dr. Bryant, some of our members are not accustomed with Microsoft Teams. Is there anything they need to know or become familiar with?
So I would say most importantly, good evening, everyone, first off. Most importantly, I would say just as we're going through the presentation, I know we're joining and sometimes our mics are turned on. If you can just please make sure that your mics are muted as of right now. And then when you're speaking, just make sure to unmute your mic. Later on in the discussion, there will be a portion where we're doing Q&A. If you look at the top of your screen, you will see some icons that say chat, people, raise, reaction. So to ask a question, if you could please click the raise button, that will let us know that, with the little icon that your hand is being raised and you have a question. And then Ms. Taylor will be able to, I will let Ms. Taylor know there is a person with a question and she'll be able to have the Q&A. Other than that, it should be smooth sailing. Enjoy the meeting.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. So I do want to remind you that this is a content-based enrichment program. It's not a membership or business meeting, but membership and business questions should be directed to our office by phone or email, and you should get an answer in one or 2 days, not always right away. But I am so excited tonight to share the points of change. I have seen this film a dozen times because I show it during all my NADA trainings, but some of you might not have seen it in 10 or 20 years. And every time I see it, another pearl jumps out at me. But before we start, I'd like to share our NADA mission and vision statement. I've asked Paul Silcox, who's also a member of our board, to read the vision and mission for us this evening. They should be on your screen. There you go. Dr. Silcox, you have to unmute. I think I did it. Can you read them?
I'm sorry. Okay. The National Acupuncture and Detoxification Association trains people in the NADA protocol, an ear acupressure and acupuncture protocol for trauma, substance misuse, abuse, mental health, and behavioral health. Together, we promote and advocate for access to holistic health as a right of all communities. The NADA vision. We envision a world where healthcare is people-centered, holistic, and accessible to the most vulnerable and underserved in our communities.
Great, thank you. And now I've asked Dr. Gaidi Nkrumah, and I believe you're also from Ohio, to share with us our principles.
Yes, the spirit of NADA. All beings have a right to self-determination, the capacity to transform and be part of transforming society. Yeah, NADA changes the dominant paradigm. Simplicity. The NADA protocol is easy to learn and to teach. Trust.
Oops, I think he got muted. Did you get muted?
Yeah, I'm back. Trust.
You have a grand on your lap. Do you have a grand on your lap?
I'm on grandpa duty, so excuse me, I'm on grandpa duty tonight.
Well, that is really, that supports our community-based mission, so I'm thrilled that you brought your family with you tonight.
Yes. Trust. We trust that people are capable of learning and that everyone has the capacity to heal themselves. Person-centered. NADA is a nonverbal protocol that meets people where they are. Sharing the protocol bridges cultural divides.
All right, and the next, all right, thank you. So now I invite you to grab your popcorn. Look, I brought some. And settle in to watch Points to Change. This film was produced in the mid-90s by the Gay Men's Health Crisis Center in New York City. GMHC opened in 1982, initially to support research into a new fatal disease that seemed to be affecting homosexuals disproportionately. This disease became known as acquired immune deficiency syndrome, or AIDS. As time went on, GMHC expanded its role to include providing healthcare services as well as HIV testing and health education. They are still around, and today they continue to fight for equity in health services. In addition to the HIV and AIDS advocacy and care, they provide many services, including substance abuse treatment programs, mental health programs, and community health programs. It is evident that the 5-needle protocol is a match for their mission. While the film is a bit dated, the wisdom endures. It is especially inspiring to hear Michael Smith, our founder, talk about the magic of AccuDetox. It is also a joy to see and hear the master trainer, Carlos Alvarez, in action. I recommend you have a pen and paper handy to note down anything that resonates for you, and then we can talk about it later. But now I present Points to Change.
Acupuncture teaches you don't have to work through mind to help somebody. You don't have to work through their brain. You can work through their whole being.
Great. And so I am curious, with a raise of your hand, was that the first time, was that anybody's first time that they has seen Points to Change? Anybody? Yeah, was yours, Joey? Yeah. And hold on, I need a better view so I can see everybody.
Definitely, we have four hands.
Yeah.
As
So
it
would,
is.
thank you, Dr. Bryant. So, well, good. Well, I'm glad you had the opportunity to see it. And who has saw it within the last 5 years? Sort of recently, yeah? A couple of you seen it in the last 5 years? And who hasn't seen it for like 10 or 20 years? Yeah? So it's I see it a lot. I saw it 2 weeks ago. And every time I see it, something else jumps out at me. Like I hear words that I didn't even know were in it. Like tonight, I heard him talking about mixture, about how recovery is a mixture of internal processes, modeled behavior, and the education that you receive. And if you'd asked me this morning, I wouldn't have told you that was in here, you know, Dr. Smith's view, that particular view of recovery. So every time I see it, something else jumps out at me. And then lots of the lines, like when Carolyn Victorian says, I like to talk a lot, right? I can say them right with her because that is stuck in my memory. So who would like to share what jumped out at them tonight from the film? Yeah, Dr. Naruma. Gotti, go ahead.
Yeah, I just, the young man who said, seems like the evil just leaves me. And that kind of stuck with me, you know. Just from a mental health perspective, to be able to find the calmness within and realize that, yes, this is a significant change of some prior thoughts or actions I might have had.
Mm-hmm.
Just self-recognition.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for highlighting that. While he was talking, somebody asked if I could send the link to the video. I will, that the sound wasn't very good. It's funny, on my end in Southwest Virginia, the sound was great, but the video wasn't very good. So we will put this posted on the website, the recording of the evening, and it should have the video properly embedded. Okay. So that's the answer to that question. So back to the first impressions in that movie. Yes. Who's next? What jumped out at you?
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, this is Francine.
Oh, Francine, hi, welcome.
Hey,
I'm sure you've seen this film a million times.
I've seen it a million times. I was happy to see Mike and Anna and all these people in a little bit of the clinic because I'm the dinosaur. Yes, and I just thought that was great to hear us say that it was person-centered treatment, non-verbal, and then explain what that was all about. And in spite of people's health, it works anyway. It's all those buzzwords in there that harm reduction and be always that seed thing really well as far as how that seed ferments and you can't dig it up too soon or it'll be dead. I mean, and that always stuck with me, that story and how the calmness and the combo and the point, and then it all actually comes together. And yes, you do have to look at it more than once. And yeah, no matter how many times you listen to it, you still learn something from it. And then you realize, yeah, that's true. And it does calm down the person that's giving the treatment. I myself used to be an expert on it, but I got to be an introvert when it started because I was like, gee, because now I'm getting the treatment myself, and I calm down myself. So, and then I thought it maybe transferred over, but it actually doesn't. It just comes, out of your fingers into that ear, and then the person's body takes over. And for them to realize they're in control like that, that's the other part. I always enjoyed when Mike tell people realize they actually are not broken. They're in charge of this whole thing, and it's going to work. I'll say that part because it works without you saying anything, and there's not much you can say that about. Not much you can say that it works without you saying it works. No guarantee, no warranty. Just sit here, and if you don't believe, that's great, because that's the best person to get. If they are doubting Thomases, but they let you give them that treatment, and then you just walk away. I just love that when it happens, because they are different after the hour is over. If they wake up, they may sleep for 2 hours. I've seen that. So yeah, it's not even magic. It look like that once you get it. Now, still kind of whimsical because you really actually can't explain why that works.
That's right.
Um,
So appreciative that you shared that.
patients and big
Go ahead.
explanations are sort of nomenclatures, but nobody knows how that actually works. I never read anything, no matter who wrote it, that explains the bottom line to what acupuncture is about and how that works on the body. You can see the effects and all, but I haven't seen another yet. But over the years, you know it works because you see it happen, and the people change right before your eyes and their eyes, which is even better.
That's right. That's right. Francine, I'm so glad that you spoke up. And there are a few other dinosaurs on the call tonight. I see Dr. Herdrick waving his head, nodding quite knowingly. Floyd, is there anything you'd like to piggyback onto Francine's, being another one of our senior members in the room? Oh, you're muted. Honey.
Hello, am I on?
Yes, you are. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I was in New York training at about the time that this film was released, so it's very familiar and it's an old get together. But I've always used this in every training in a couple of different ways. One, to train trainers, but in the late 80s, early 90s, I started the first clinic in the county of Fairfax in Northern Virginia. It was an acute detox, and you had to be high to get in, and you had to go cold turkey to get the day you got there. It was 32 beds, co-educational, and you're going to be there for about 3 weeks max because they're going to place you in some other ongoing care. And So they wanted to get their staff trained, and we trained a dozen to start with. And we had everybody go into the treatment room every day at 1 o'clock. You didn't have to get the needles, but as you know, when people see people getting the needles, they tend to want them too. It's palpable what happens. So the director of the program said, well, assessing what's going on, she said, I have always kept the my office door open throughout the day so I can kind of monitor the din. She said, since we've started doing this, it's quieter. Not only that, there are times it is actually quiet out there. And her associate said, and I'm the sergeant at arms, that when it gets up and Heath, then I'm the one who calls them all into the day room and reads them the rules, the riot acts. And she said, I used to do that every day and sometimes twice. She said, since we've started doing this, I haven't done it once or twice in a month. It's changed the place that much. Now I'd like to switch to another program in Northern Virginia in Arlington that I founded and nursed along, is that people who are used to I talk a lot kind of syndrome think, okay, well, let's let this talk to the patients. And so there was an impulse in the staff to show this to their somewhat reticent inpatient, oftentimes homeless people in this residential program.
So they showed the film, Floyd?
That was the idea. If we show them this film, then they're going to want to get the acupuncture. And I go, no. These people aren't capable of sitting down. And like Mike said, they don't have the ego strength to sit down and watch this. But what we did do, we would do the program. When the needles all came off, we'd say, who would like to look at this program? And then we would play it for after the program, after they all got the needles off. And then they're really able to look at it. And they're saying, yeah, that's like me, or that's like you. And so it was a great facilitator after. Now, the third thing that I'd like to throw out there quickly.
Okay.
I used to take questions for NADA from people as trainers. And there was a phase where I started getting this question. What if we did NADA treatment and mindfulness training together? Came from several sources. And I said, well, I would say that whatever you're doing, NADA will enhance it. And whatever else you're doing with NADA will diminish NADA. But now, why are you asking the question? Well, it turned out, that fellow who spawned mindfulness training built it on the research evidence-based model very well. We could take it as a lesson book. And he did that whole thing. So now it's evidence-based therapy. And so any program director can put it in their budget. And since that's never happened for NADA, you always have to take the money for your program out of petty cash. And you can imagine the problems that comes to. So that's enough from me.
Well, thank you, Floyd. You always have a lot of good experience and things to share. I'm curious, has anyone else on the call actually shown it to patients? I've never shown it to patients. I've shown it to ADSs in training, and I've shown it to physicians and program directors. I've never shown it to patients. Yeah? Dr. Silcox, you've shown it to patients? You're muted. And then Angie has a question.
There you go. As Floyd was talking there a moment ago, and he was talking about how the mindfulness guy got somehow or another was able to get it changed to evidence-based. What would it take, or is it possible to get NADA protocol as an evidence-based type treatment? I mean, what would it take for something like that?
It would take somebody inventing sham acupuncture that didn't actually treat people. It's really difficult to control. But that's a good conversation for another community connection hour.
Okay.
So thank you. Angie, you had something, you've shown it to patients?
So actually, no, that was part of the reason that I actually came on today. So I was really happy that Floyd touched on that, because I'm working in a community right now, an Indigenous community, and I work with NADA quite a bit. And so one of the new formats that I'm looking to create is to do more of a community style, so that patients can come in. And I wanted to have something in the beginning that would emphasize the importance of it for the addiction, mostly addiction, and I work with the mental health piece as well. So when you pointed out that it was better to do it after, once we did the treatment, I think that that really was quite a, I was like, great, that's perfect, because I can work up to 40 patients in a 5-hour span. And so I think that that's going to be, it's the momentum and getting people in from community. That's the hardest part, and trying to find ways to do that. So it's going to be word of mouth for sure. But yeah, I really appreciated that point.
And where's your geographic locality?
I'm in Canada, so I'm in Vancouver, on Vancouver Island in Victoria.
Okay. Great, thank you. Dr. Brian, I saw that you had your hand up. Did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I just wanted to mention that that was my first time seeing the video. Very good video and interesting points. It actually makes me, I'm new to the NADA, the acupuncture world, so I actually want to get trained now to help.
Well, good. I hope you're coming to the training at Bowie in the end of June, right? Yeah. Dr. Brian has recently joined the board. Dr. Silcox is also on the board that's here this evening, and myself. Dr. Brian's our IT specialist, so that's really, we're really, really appreciative to have him. All right, anything else jump out at people about the video or the film? Did anybody else, it's always interesting when I show this film to younger people, because they're not as emotionally, I guess I'd say emotionally affected by HIV and AIDS treatment as those of us who were young professionals in the 80s. And when we, those of us who are of that age, we lost our friends, and we saw a big pivot take place in healthcare and healthcare delivery because of the bloodborne pathogens and HIV and the threat of HIV and AIDS and the terrible fatality of HIV and AIDS. And I know that HIV and AIDS are still prevalent in lots of communities, but they don't have the same impact as they had on those of us who were professionals in the 80s and 90s. And so I wondered if anybody had anything they wanted to say about that, thinking about that. Because this film was made by HIV and AIDS research money. We're very appreciative. Yeah. Angie, did you want to say something, or your hand's just still up from before?
Oh, is it still up? I don't know how to get it down. How do we take it down? There we go. Does that work? Is that better?
Yeah.
I would just touch on it by saying that I think it's relevant in that even just working with COVID, I think it's a unfortunate situation that we're all dealing with so much stress and anxiety in our society now. And no matter what the virus is, I find that people, I would say probably for myself, 85 to 90% of my practice is I use NADA, because it just, people are coming in feeling that sympathetic nervous system load. It's a lot. So I think it's relevant as we've been moving through this.
Yeah, everybody's battling some empty fire. So that we're not done, but that would be a good point for me to put a little advertisement for my next Community Connection Hour. It's going to be called ADS Self-Care, Nourishing the Yin. We're going to have some guests that are going to share some ways, some methodologies of yin nourishment, because our professionals are super stressed. our professionals, especially working through the COVID years, some mental health professionals haven't taken a vacation since the lockdown started. Some of my facilities haven't even opened up for in-person treatment. Some of the residential facilities still aren't going into the community. And so the care providers are having to provide 100% of the context for the residential living. That's a big burden when you used to go to the park and go to work at the food pantry, go to meetings, right? And all that's still on Zoom. So little sidebar, next community connection hour is nourishing the yin. All right, one last question. If we were going to make a movie today about NADA, what would you add? What would you put in? Has anything changed, or is this fine? Except for the hairdos and the color, the faded colors.
When you say has anything changed, what do you mean?
I don't know. If you just, it's just a fantasy question. If you were going to make this movie, a movie like Points to Change, and of course we'd use the old Michael Smith vintage footage since he's no longer with us, but what might you add, or what might you put in?
We'd have to put the fentanyl and all the opioids in the film now and bring it up to date, but it's the same reaction when the person's treated. You get the same results, but I think it should be the today drugs put into that, but everything else in the film relates to the drugs of today because it's still a person-centered, person treated, person's in charge, and the same thing happens to all the organs in the body. You put those 5 points in, and other things that happen that we don't even know about. We used to put those points in the hand for large intestines 4, and then we used to use the third eye, yin tang up there when Mike was around in the Bronx. We used to yin tang third eye, and then we would large intestines 4 Bach Way in the hands, and along with the 5 points. I don't know. One day maybe we'll get back to that. I thought that was a great experience because it entertained the brain a lot.
Right.
And I think maybe those should be included. But and that reverse yin men, it's not talked about a lot. But I think I don't even know if people actually use it a lot. And I
Reverse
think
Shen Men, we use it with beads and seeds a lot. Yeah, very popular.
I'm sorry.
We use it with beads and seeds, reverse Shen Men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So I think maybe the old things are relevant as of today, and especially with the fentanyl and all the opioids, because the acupuncture works on that also.
Yep. Thank you, Francis. Those are good insights. Liz Davis, you have an insight what you would add to the movie?
She's muted.
Oh, you're muted. Let's see.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for this opportunity to think about what we would add. I am newly trained and completed my practicum this week.
That's great. That's great. Who was your trainer, Liz?
Katura.
Oh, peace and blessings.
Thank you. So we're excited here in Seattle, Washington. We're in the Pacific Northwest. And one of the things that I've noticed, I'm a Reiki master as well as a life coach. I'm one of those few, but more people are coming into the fold. I've lost over 200 pounds of weight in my process of change and healing. And one of the things I would like to see added is sports trauma and all the ways that it can up. And one of the things that, as I was, thinking about this, how Dr. Smith talked about, one, using the analogy of the seed and letting it sit through wind, and then that when it's right, that's very evident. That resonated with me both for my own care and with my clients.
Thank you.
So that's what I would like to see, looking at trauma and how being trauma informed, and especially with that silence. And is it Francine? Thank you so much for what you said, because we can watch and see what changes or not changes are happening, and be a mirror back to the client of how they're doing without ever saying a word. Thank you.
Yeah, and they're gonna be very talkative themselves once they start changing. They're gonna tell you right away.
Yeah. Our the attendant Cher has some ideas for a movie. She thinks that there should be reference to evidence-based research of the benefits. She also thinks that more information about the use of each points on the ear, and maybe using the medicine wheel or the 5 phases, 5 transformations to illustrate this. And also some more footage in community and residential treatment settings. Yeah, the thing that I would add if I was going to make it is I would add using AccuDetox in social activism. For example, when those of us who were here when Jose Santini talked about the work in Puerto Rico, he said, if the students are protesting, we're there, right? So use of AccuDetox in community activism and of course trauma treatment is something that I would add. It is 8:58, and I know that some people still have questions. I'm going to let Dr. Elisa Bear Rogers speak, and then I have a we've got a video of Dionne Warwick sending That's What Friends Are For, which was also written to support AIDS. The funds of it went to support AIDS research, and it's really fun because everybody's like a child, like Elton John and Dionne Warwick, so it's really fun. But I will stay on after to continue this conversation after we close. But let's hear from Dr. Alicia Bear Rogers.
Hi. What I would add is that that we use AccuDetox for self-care as providers. You know, that's important for the clients to know that we use it for ourselves too, for healing, and you know, in addition to disaster relief and trauma. So
yeah, thank you
I think that's important.
Remembering that. Well, if anyone wants to join the Remake the Points to Change committee, drop me an email at membership@accudetox.com. I have no funding, I have no skills,